So we're doing this piece this morning because we have the joy of having Timothy and Emily here. And Carol said, Timothy's going to be here. Why don't we sing Timothy's song?
Oh, good.
So this is Timothy's song, Where Oh Where Is Jesus?
Which he wrote when he was 16 or something?
Yeah. 17.
Anyway, it's a long time.
Something like that.
I don't know. I think I may have written the text before I turned 17 and the tune after.
Okay, and Martin can't see. But, oh, by the way, there's a mirror that's supposed to live on top of the organ. I think somebody thought it wasn't supposed to be there. Is it at home? Okay, if you see a mirror up there, it needs to be there. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Where,
Gwenny's our little 9-year-old, and they annihilated the poor team. It was like twice their size, 10-0 I think it was. Anyway, tiredness is here, but we're so glad to be back in our fellowship. Today's going to be somewhat of a sharing service. And I wonder before the kids go out, if the little ones, anybody who's going to go with Petra, do they have anything to share, or whether you heard anything, Tommy or Aaron, from your little ones about camp and whether they enjoyed it?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
They're in the middle of a big...
That's okay, that's fine, that's good, God bless them. Okay, well we'll sing one song. Not forgotten anything we can share now. And as I said, it's a wonderful camp for me and Denby. Exhausting, up and down, I have knee problems. climbing mountains every day to get to the mountaintop to hear Teresa. It was great. So, you know, feel free to come and give testimony if you want to about last week, guys. So for the blessing of the congregation. This is a gigantic sports report for the congregation.
So I've got it.
Nancy, thank you, Nancy.
First of all, I want to say that I really needed to hear what Teresa had to say. It knocked my socks off big time, and trying to figure out exactly what was the nature of my socks being knocked off, but I think partly
It was camp.
it was greatly upgrading my estimation of how much suffering and joy there is in the world, like from just this much to this much. But the thing about there being more suffering and joy than I used to give the world credit for is it means people are bigger. There's a lot more to people than I used to think, when I thought suffering was just kind of like background noise and joy was just sort of like background noise. In any case, and to find out that a human isn't identified with their bodily or their mental condition is really big for me. Wow. And also, it's kind of a miracle that we got to go, because I've got this enormous menagerie of sick and dying and baby animals to take care of. How? Who's going to take care of all these sick and dying and baby animals? Well, my beloved relatives stepped up and took tender care of them. And when we got back, we adopted a bunch of chickens from a dying neighbor a little bit ago, and one of them, named Darmera, was busy dying when we left. Slowly, she was always crying and always scared, and she just didn't seem well. Well, when we got back, something had happened, probably through the ministrations of my beloved relatives. Darmera has adopted a bunch of baby guineas, and she is well, and the baby guineas are really happy with her as a mom. So yeah, that's what I got to say. You want to speak?
At some point I do.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
I hope I can remember what I want to say, because I think I'm losing my memory. I would say the greatest joy that I had, honor that I had, was baptizing Laura without a permit. And we didn't dunk her, and I had already been into the lake, which is cold, not as cold as normal, but still it's cold. You have to, just go in, and then I'd come out and dry it off, and I thought, oh, we're going to have to go back out there again. But no, we just went knee deep, and it was fantastic, and I just drizzled some water on her head.
Wow.
And she didn't actually make the choice like others did. And Aaron was talking about the difference between Baptists and Presbyterians. Presbyterians do infant baptism, as I understand. It was Roger Williams back in the early days of America that kind of split with them because he didn't believe, and so they're called, ironically, Baptists because they don't baptize. So there's an irony there. But I think what I would say is the great theme of camp that Ian continued to expound upon by teaching the kids about Elijah and his travails was, what are you doing here? And we constantly sometimes jokingly or not jokingly, what are you doing here? What are we doing here? And if it's not to love and to help each other, then I think we're missing it. So that was a powerful theme. And for me, for me to really settle into camp, I try to, I make my assault on the mountain going up to the lake, because I find that if I push myself to the point of exhaustion, then that's where I meet God, or that's where I can empty myself. And it's not a thing that I think that everybody has to do, but it's what I do. And it helps me. It helps my prayer life. It helps me to prepare for what comes after our free time, is our prayer group. And that's another great thing. I had a wonderful prayer group. And as I said, I don't know if it's appreciated, but we had a men's group, which was great. And we talked a lot and we prayed a little. And you're supposed to pray, but no, I felt that the talking was prayerful, and I felt that it was deep communication. We had Nick in our group, and it was just a blessing to be with these men and to learn more about them and to hold up their concerns in prayer. And I think I got it all. And it's really nice to be back, and we love you all.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Oh, goody.
I'm super tired, so I don't know if my words are gonna come out eloquently. CFO for me is a new year. It's sort of a new year of faith, and so I love going there with the kids, and I love discovering aspects of our faith, and seeing them discover aspects of their faith. And one neat thing that we were kind of all discovering, because we have 3 teenagers and 1 preteen, is and it sometimes feels at home like they're ping pong balls on fire, just like bouncing off of each other, and you never know what you're going to expect. And so one thing I feel like we really explored as a family, or one thing I noticed, I'm not sure the kids how aware they were, but was just the idea of bad moods, and where your mind can just go all off track, as a spiritual affliction, and how to deal with that as a person of faith. And so I hope you don't mind me sharing this story well, but so we were, on the car ride home, and Will was really struggling, and with the bad attitude. We all were. But we stopped at the In-N-Out, and he's off to his side trying to just contain his feelings, and so I was just like, okay, you guys, let's hold hands, and we're gonna pray for Will. And Lou's there, and the In-N-Out guy's taking out the garbage, and she's looking over at him, and wait, okay, yeah, we're gonna pray right now. We're gonna pray for Will. And I just I think without CFO we would not notice how to deal with our afflictions as people of faith, and to see my kids develop that at such a young age and practice that is a really beautiful thing. And you can go to church and you can go to youth groups, but it doesn't, for me, go as deep there as it does at CFO. A very, very special place to be and wind up yearly, because it feels like it just slips away so easily, all these little nuggets of wisdom. So a nice almost like a dedication, a rededication every year of our efforts to be defined by our faith, and to handle affliction as a person of faith. And I had lovely prayer group with Nancy and Deborah, young Deborah Hampel, who's impressed me so much, and Shannon Gripke, and I got to share about my year a lot with that. I felt very, very comfortable in that prayer group with and so that was a real big blessing to me as well.
Thank you, Julia. Well done. Well done.
Hello. I may not be coherent myself. I am very tired and emotionally, all over the place. 'Cause, I was thinking of me and Laura, my cousin, I've been talking a lot in the last couple of years about holding joy and sorrow in the palm of one hand.
Wow.
That is how this world is, and that's how I feel right now with the news about Ad's son that just grieves my heart so much, and then just all the emotions of celebrating my grandma's beautiful life and feeling her loss so deeply, and then all of the joy from being up there. Camp was so beautiful to me, and being in a prayer group with just some of the women of faith who I admire so deeply, to Teresa and Denby and Mary Beth and beautiful young woman named Shay, who I got to meet for the first time this year and get to know, and it was just wonderful basking in the presence of, it's like basking in the presence of people who've walked with the Lord way longer than I have. And I was thinking, if I could be here for 3 weeks, I get spiritually formed so well. It was just like, it was good. Anyway, and then, getting baptized, that's what I really want. I mean, that was just, oh my gosh. Like, it's like I signed the wedding vows with Jesus privately in the courthouse years ago. But then, I don't know, getting to actually make that, affirm that commitment in the presence of the community. Something I've really longed for a long time, but it hasn't really, I don't know. It was just, and the way it happened, it was so beautiful. When I was younger, I wanted to get baptized in a mountain stream. And I like going there, like, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, however it is, it's the same in essence. But it just felt like such a gift of love from the Lord that just in this spontaneous moment, it was in a mountain stream. And I love that stream. I would go to that creek like every day of camp, and I would sit and I would write in my notebook right there. And I would have deep conversations with God, and like many other years too. And it was such a blessing having Fiona and Gwennon and Maddie were there. They were perched up on this log up above the pool, and they were watching, and they led us down to the place. Fiona, I think it was Fiona who suggested that spot in the creek, and it was so perfect. And there they were up on the log, just so full of joy and excitement. I don't know, it was just so full of blessings, and the joy that I felt, I wasn't even expecting it. Just the absolute joy. I felt like the way that looks like, I see couples getting married, and I see them up on stage, like, looking at each other, and they're just like, so, oh no, it just felt like that. Like, Jesus, I love you so much, and here I am getting to, I don't know, it was just such a blessing, and I was so washed with joy. I thought the water would be startlingly cold. It was literally not cold to me. I just felt the warmth of Jesus' love. I really did, and I usually get cold easily, and it was just like the water of life.
It is like a wedding because you're the bride of Christ.
Exactly. That's how it felt. And like the love of my life, affirming the commitment to the true love of my life. And that was so beautiful. And there was just, it was.
Wow, thank you, Ellen.
So we're blessing people You know, sometimes clapping can be a little disruptive, but blessing people.
Not gonna get out of this one without hearing from me. So CFO's been something that I've gone to since I was 16, and it's been a real big part of my faith and of developing that and practicing it. And I'm always trying to, like I always do, I'm always trying to sort out like how to do things right and what the real message is. And I'm really, as a amateur philosophy type and student and person who works in words and language, it's like the words matter to me, and then being right matter to me. And if they're not right, even if they're just not right by a little, I just really won't go with it. I just and this is a little bit of an aside, but there are certain of our like songs that, there's a couple of them where I'm like, that's not right. And then if you notice, so you just look, because, again, they're 95% good, and then you'll notice sometimes, you'll just notice me stop singing. And there are a couple lines in there.
Yeah.
So it's okay. And sometimes I think I'm going to go through and and it's like, like with anything, there is no, we're not going to find a perfect anything. That's not to say that we shouldn't strive for it. It's not to say that it's not important, but it's to say we have to have some sort of way of modulating the fact that we're in a fallen world seeking to follow a perfect God. And so we're on this razor's edge, because we cannot, with any part of us, say, oh, it doesn't matter. Because it does matter. But nor can we say, like, but if it's not, then it has to be, and I will never. It's like, and it's not a balance. It's not a moderation. It's everything perfect. It's everything, right? I think sometimes people like to hide in, it's a moderation. It's like, it's right in the middle. It's like, that's not right in the middle. It's these words are wrong, but we can't necessarily fix every damn one permanently. We can't fix every one. We have to just be there and be faithful, okay? So, being a 16-year-old and being taken to this camp and following this guy and, like, just feeling this amazing, like, if you do anything all day with other people who are trying to do the exact same thing all day, and when I say all day, the bell rings at 6:30. There's a big bell in the middle of camp that's it's like, this big, and then there's like lights out at 10. And it's, other than like an hour and a half of free time, go to the lake, whatever, you guys have heard about the thing. You do the little dancing things, you do the art, you just listen to someone share their journey, you sing, you do prayer, all that stuff. It's camp, right? But it's all day. And if you're doing something all day with people who are doing it with you all day for a week, it's going to have a profound impact, right? It just is. And especially if you're, kind of roughing it, not in a big way, car camping, but you're out in the woods, you don't have like the couch, you don't have the couch and a glass of wine or whatever, right? It's just, and the stereo or the television or whatever. You don't have it. You don't have central heating. You're out there. So you're all out there together doing that, and it's everybody is trying to, like, be really good to each other and help each other live a really good life, and all unanimously seeking to deepen our faiths together. So it's a real blessing. And there's no theology, and so that's a problem, because again, the words are important, right? So, but there is theology, because we're always up there, like we just sang, Brent's song, Jesus Christ is the light of the world, Jesus Christ is the Son of God, Jesus Christ is the Lord of all. Well, that's theology. That's pretty solid, right? Like we sing, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. What's the verse? There's only one God, there's only one King, there's only one body, right? So it's deeply Christian, but it's, it's out in the legacy of Professor Glenn Clark, who had this idea for these camps, and I think he got a little beyond his skis in terms of the whole scope of it, but did create something very special and meaningful that has been a blessing to Ian and his family and friends of theirs and people, and and then has carried on to bless me profoundly and my family, and thereby, I would hope, blesses all of us in the church. So, that by way of preface, Jesus established the church on the rock of Peter, right? And the Catholics follow that, and they say, that's our church. That's it. There was one. There was one. They were there. The 11 people they got Matthias in there. And then they got 12 of them again, and they were in that room, and the Holy Spirit came down and started the church. There was no other church. There was no denomination. There was no anything else. It was just them. And then they went out, and they were, speaking in tongues, and everyone gathered around, and then Peter said, hey, they're like, what's going on? I'm like, well, remember what happened with Jesus? And you guys crucified him, but you can turn. And it says they were cut to the quick, they were cut to the core, and they repented, and they were baptized, around 3,000 people. There it is. And who was in charge of it? Peter, right? And then it goes from there, okay? And then you can go through the whole history, all right? And in about 1,000, there was what we call the Great Schism, right? The East and the West split. And I'm not very studied in it, but I imagine it had something to do with the Roman Empire splitting up and the Eastern faction and the Western faction throughout it. So you have the Catholic Church and you have the Orthodox Church, right? And then obviously it kept splitting off. And so you have different versions of the Orthodox Church. And you had the Catholic Church, which dominated all of Europe. And then in 1520 or whatever around, 1517, Martin Luther started the Reformation. And so then the Catholic Church split. And King Henry VIII split off a portion in England, the Anglican Church. And all these things happen. And it is fragmented. And it is spread out. And now there's 1 million denominations, right? And like we were saying, we share fellowship with them. But, they're doing it this way. And no, we don't agree about that. And which ones? And then people get into squabbles. And you can't do it that way. No, this is the right way, and all that. And what do we sing in that? They'll know we are Christians, and we pray that our unity may one day be restored. Right? So, with all that and in all that, here comes CFO with its own little flavor, and then it's attached, or our camp and Shasta is attached sort of to this Presbyterian church, which also has its own little flavor and is certainly not really run by exactly the list of Presbyterian conventions exactly. It's pretty casual. It's like the liturgy's pretty relaxed, but we keep it in the lines as best we can, and we're faithful to that. And CFO, in my view, is it's an offshoot of that. It's another way that we express our faith, and we pray that our unity will one day be restored, and we're all going towards that. That's it.
Very good.
Thank you.
I think you should.
Get up there.
Oh my God.
Tell some of the stories you didn't tell.
No.
Share the one about the
Read the
wall.
phone man.
Oh,
Yeah,
stop.
please, see that.
I spoke every
Step up to the line,
day.
honey.
What?
Step up to the line, baby.
Step up to the line.
Go step
Oh.
up to the mark.
I spoke every day, and it really, it was a real challenge planning it, and it was you're exposing yourself or whatever. But I was so blessed. Every single day I spoke, people just came up to me and they were just so affirming and so wonderful to me. It was like I was blessed beyond measure with everything. And so all I've got to say is thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
I was trying to, in morning meditation one day, real quickly, I was trying to figure out what is it about Teresa that makes everybody so happy. And then at that moment, Teresa walks, she saunters across the meditation meadow, and I'm like, oh, obviously it's her joy, is what it is. It's her joy. When Andy Pearcey, who I played in my rock band in the 70s with, he's a well-known musician in England, he came and played in our church years ago, and he says, "Hi, Ian, I love to play to people like Teresa, because she's so joyful. It's the fruit of the Spirit. We sing about it all the time. Love, joy, peace, love, joy." Anyway, that's you, my dear. And it challenged me because I think I was a more joyful person when I was younger. I'm like, Ian, come on, get on, come on. Get in there. Come, anybody else? Are we done? I know people are tired. Micah here, he never does it. He was actually laying down here for a minute.
I think you were just called out, Micah. Go on.
No. You're safe, mate. You're safe. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. Let's sing. Let's get together in circle, and we'll just close our service.
Is it already open?
No, it doesn't have to be, Tom.
This is how it was every day in the talk. It's over, and I'm thinking it's only been about 15 minutes, and it was over. It was that
Okay.
enchanting.